TikTok. It's time to rock. Welcome to the channel, folks. Welcome to the 5150 show. Welcome to Ranking the Tracks. Welcome to the Made in Japan show. And I promise you, you are singing correct. There are only two of us here.
So
The
far.
gentleman, the gentleman who was going to introduce the album and start the rankings is going to be with us very soon. But because we've got some fine people in the chat already hanging out with us, we thought we'd at least bore them a little bit until the excitement turns up, Simon.
It just pop up. Ooh, boo. Yes, almost on time. Not quite. Yeah, why not? Got to. It's one or two things, isn't there? How's your week been? Good week?
Oh yeah. You know, it's good. You know, business is good, and looking forward to starting a new week next week. Just about the end of the month. Soon it'll be halfway through the bloody year, Simon.
I know. And soon I should be having my feet on my desk and smoking a big cigar, looking at
Big
the
fat
view.
one. Yeah, that's good.
Different.
That's good. We look forward to hearing how that goes, and obviously, you'll be keeping people in tune with that. And we were just talking in the green room. We were looking at the Dickie Betts show that we did.
Yeah,
300 views, Simon.
300 views. Very cool. Thank you very much to everyone who watched that. And I hope we did him justice. That was really nice, yeah.
It's not bad for a little channel like us. Some of those midweek shows that we do, just a little bit different from ranking the tracks, and it's always good to sort of keep up with what's happening with the headlines, with the news, and obviously Simon with people passing. Rock Professor. It's always going to be an opportunity for us to get together and commiserate and celebrate, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's yes, that's the bad thing, is it's only going to get worse, isn't it? So it's not going to get better. Sadly, as they all get older, it all gets more likely that they can just shuffle off their mortal coils, and we're going to be doing a few of these, unfortunately.
Yeah. I've been watching over the last couple of days. I've had a bit of time. You know, I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch a little bit of sport. You know, I love watching
Sport.
Spurs, Tottenham Hotspurs lose. I love watching the Essendon Bombers lose. I love watching the Chiefs lose. Every team I watch that I support loses, but I'm sucker
you
for
need a
it, and I
spot of
still go back.
masochism in your life, don't you? You need a spot of masochism in your life.
But I do admit though, I do like YouTube, Simon. There's a few shows that I follow. And it's always interesting, isn't it, that when you, for example, look for, say, Dickie Betts, and then half an hour later you go and have a look, and there's some great tributes and some great shows that other channels are doing talking about Dickie Betts, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, watched Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility. Watched one of you, and what's he called? I keep forgetting his name. Otis. Hold on, I'm gonna look now because Otis Gibbs. You come across him? Otis Gibbs. He's very good. He's got lots of tales of things. But so he's got Otis Gibbs. Shout him out because I don't remember his name. Yeah.
No, I don't know him, but yeah, it's interesting. You know, these shows that come up in your feed from guys like us. That's who I'm more interested in. I'm more interested in what the organic fans have to say. You know, the guys with 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 subscribers, Simon. You know, that's kind of where we are. Yes, John is right. The Bombers won this week, and we play the Filth, also known as Collingwood, on Anzac Day, which is a big game here on Thursday. Well, actually, not here. Well, it's in Australia, but here in this part of the world.
Don't play Aussie rules football in New Zealand, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. In Auckland, there's a 12-team competition. In fact, New Zealand won the international Australian rules competition that they have. They have an international competition with about 10 teams, and New Zealand wins it often.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, cool.
Yeah, we used to play it.
Didn't realise that. Yeah.
We used to play it back in the early part of the last century. It was played here,
Right.
obviously because of the close connection between the Aussies and the Kiwis. You know, after all, Australia's known, Simon. If you didn't know this, you were taught geography wrong. Australia is the eastern island, the East Island, because here in New Zealand we have the North Island, the South Island, and Australia is our East Island.
Part of the New Zealand archipelago.
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah, that's our continent.
And if that's not causing trouble, I don't know what is.
There's a few Aussies in the chat, I suppose. Yeah, they'll probably ban me.
Fizzing.
Fizzing. John says that his mother's a Collingwood supporter, so best be real in the trash talk.
Oh.
I've got a mate who's a John, can you do me a favour? Can you check the score? Hawthorn are playing North Melbourne. Let me know what that score is. I've got a good mate who's a Hawthorn fan. Yeah, this is a music show, by the way, folks. Not a football or sports show.
we just talking. What's my favourite thing of this week? Talking of music, let's get back on track, kids. Is that I think this week marked the the 49th anniversary of Ronnie Wood joining the Rolling Stones. New boy Ronnie Wood has only been in the Rolling Stones for 49 years. Incredible, isn't it? You know,
it is.
Just amazing. 1975. Next year he'd been at 50 years.
Oh, and there's no sign of them of not touring. They've got another tour geared up. They'll give Ronnie his 50th anniversary tour.
You reckon next year they're not touring next year, aren't they? This year they are.
Yeah, this year. Yeah, they'll tour next year. Here he is. Is.
He's looking dishevelled and
he's looking.
rust.
Oh, mate, he's sweating. He's glistening.
Don't put him on. Don't put him on if he's glistening. We don't want any glisten on this channel. Okay.
Oh no, glisten. No.
You've got to be dry.
No glisten.
No glisten. Good morning.
How are we? Good.
I love.
Sorry about the late coming. I sort of got held up in Melbourne traffic on a Sunday for some reason. It's marvelous.
It's all right, bro. It's okay. Like we've said
is it a
before,
new thing?
No, not really lately. Depends on which way you're heading. If you're coming from the city, it can be roadwork city, and that's what was happening, roadworks. So anyway,
good.
I made it back 10 minutes, or what is it, 15 minutes or whatever late. So I apologize.
Yeah.
Gentlemen?
No, it's all good. It's all good, mate. We were just talking as usual. Nothing.
Yeah.
We were talking absolutely nothing.
It's the story of my life lately anyway. I'm always 15 minutes, 20 minutes late for everything at the moment. I just can't get anywhere on time because I'm always overcommitted, underpaid. That's what they say, isn't it?
Yeah. We did mention two good things actually while you were away, bro. 300 views on our tribute show that we did for Dickie Becks, which is not bad.
It's great.
Very cool.
Not bad. And also 49 years, the Rock Professor reminded us of Ronnie Wood being a member of the Rolling Stones this year. So
yes, wow, that's amazing.
New
I
boy,
can relate.
new boy Ronnie Wood.
I can relate to the new boy.
And yeah.
If we're all still doing this in 49 years' time, let's go. You're gonna be dialing me in with via seance, a Ouija board. Are you there? No. Leave me alone.
Piss off, would ya?
Yeah. I just want to get a heads up from you guys about the news of the remastered Let It Be film that's going to be released on
Right, yeah. The original one.
on Amazon, not Amazon, on
Disney.
Disney next month, Brad.
I know, and to be honest with you, I thought Get Back was going to be the definitive version of Let It Be. That's what I was under the impression, because it was actually, pretty much the whole kit and caboodle in one big packaging, and it obviously has a lot more in it, and it is a clear picture of everything that was happening. If you've seen Let It Be, I'm sure you guys have seen it. I've seen a bootleg of it, which is really terrible quality. It depicts a band really in a bad way at each other, and from my memory of it, and Get Back shows them all happy, joyous. There's a few moments of meltdowns and leaving the band, but there was a sense of brotherhood in Get Back.
Look, I'm glad that you mentioned that, and I'll just say something quickly before I pass it on to the Rock Professor before we start the show off properly. I felt exactly the same way, because the DVD version that I saw 3 or 4 times over the years, Simon, wasn't particular. It never inspired me to go back to that album. And we, as you guys know, we've done 4 shows on the Get Back, and all 3 of us were just blown away by the whole story that unfolded, that actually these guys weren't actually at each other's throats. It was, the Let It Be film was just a horrible production. So it'll be interesting, Simon, to see what people think, because you'll have Get It Be as a counterbalance.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, actually, because I haven't seen it for eons. I can't. It'd be really interesting to see it, go back and watch it afresh in the light of Peter Jackson's films.
Yeah,
and just see, actually what it's like, because I can't remember the last time I watched it, but I probably haven't watched it for 40 years. It hasn't been around much, and so it'll be really interesting to see if it's as bad as people remember, or if it paints it. Clearly it will paint a different picture to Peter Jackson's, because you're doing a 2 hour and a half film, not 8 hours, whatever. And I think that clearly, if you're doing an hour and a half, you have to pick out a lot more things, and you're trying to pick a narrative and a beginning, a middle, and an end kind of thing in a different way than if you're doing Peter Jackson, which is, you're taking the whole time scale that you've got film of, starting the beginning, going to the end. That's it. Whereas Michael Lindsay Hogg clearly isn't doing that, because he's got an hour and a half to fit it all into, not into an unlimited amount of time, basically. So I think it'd be really interesting to watch, and I think that, and to maybe reconsider it alongside Peter Jackson stuff, so that I know that not all of the stuff is in Peter Jackson. Didn't use all of the stuff that's in Michael Lindsay Hogg's film, so there'll be extra. So in a sense, we get an even more complete picture by having the 2 things together. And if they show a slightly different picture, maybe that would be interesting, I think. So I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, me too. And as usual, Brad, the 3 of us will get together and we'll do a collective review after we've watched it, and spend probably 3 hours talking about it. And probably only need to do 1 show on it. But I do look forward to, obviously, hearing what you guys have to say about it. and everyone else in the chat after we've seen it. So that's not far away. That's only in about 3 or 4 weeks.
May the 8th. Just that Wednesday. May the 8th was that a Wednesday? 2.5 weeks away. Yeah.
That's great.
I shall still be recovering from Bruce Springsteen. I'm going to see in 2 weeks today.
Your ears will still be ringing.
Yeah.
No, he's not that loud.
That's what they believe.
I'm not being an ageist here, nor was Brad, but those eardrums, Simon. You got to look after them. They're getting a little
actually, never mind my eardrums. I've got to look after my old knees. That's more. That's more of a prescience problem than my old ears.
And the bladder. So you won't be having any bevies before you go.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be spent 4 hours in the pub beforehand, and no, you're gonna hobble to the stadium and hobble back again. Jeez, I tell you, it's nothing good will come of it. I tell you, I'm not looking forward. You see, you can't go and have a few beers because you never get up the bloody stairs. By the time I go up the stairs and into the stadium, you'd be halfway through.
My goodness.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Looking for trouble. All right, we should probably start.
Looking for a seat.
Probably start the show off.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll probably slot a show in, folks. So that's homework that we all have to do here collectively. Everybody, watch that within that week, so that we can get together and we can share our thoughts and be honest with it.
Exciting though.
Look, anything to do with these. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. Look, it'll be interesting to watch Let It Be after all these years, after seeing, like you said, Simon, after watching Get Back. So, but I'm surprised that they've done that. I'll be honest with you. But anyway, from my memory and recollection of it, it'll be interesting to pin it up against the Brotherhood vibe of Get Back. I think they really did. That they, regardless of the fact they were on the way out of the Beatles, they had a brotherhood, and in Let It Be, from my recollection of it, they showed the band arguing, bickering, and it was very dark content. So we'll see.
It was horrible, bro.
Yeah,
it's a horrible film.
I remember watching Let It Be many years ago in the 90s, I think it was. I've watched it a few times since, obviously, but I remember watching it and being depressed because I loved Let It Be so much, the album, and I was depressed. I was like, my favorite band. What? This is not right. Can't be. I couldn't imagine it.
Especially in the light of releasing it after they broke it up as well. They didn't release it while it was.
So obviously they picked all
on a different hue, didn't it?
The bickering and the squabbling and
Do you think the producers got caught into that depressive mode because the Beatles had broken up? Possibly. And it was part of that whole kind of collective feeling that was happening. So by default, they had to produce it that way. They couldn't turn it around and become like this happy jaunt because everybody was depressed. British civilization, the British Empire had collapsed.
Possibly. I mean, look, who knows? I think they just picked all the dark bits out of the whatever, however many hours that they had. They left out all the joyous stuff and the stuff where you can see them helping each other and showing love to each other, and picked up. I mean, it's natural. You've got a bunch of 4 brilliant musicians that are very, very intelligent and very powerful personalities by that point, and egos in their career. They're going to have clashes, but Get Back showed them in a different light, which I loved that. I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Okay.
It put that faith back in that album for me, and I fell in love with that album again for that
Cool.
reason. Mm.
All right.
But we should
That's
leave
enough of
that.
the Beatles.
We
Yeah.
should talk about that later. We should, because we do have an album to get through that's a bit of a monster. It's an epic piece of or an epic masterpiece. I'll put it that way, of a live performance, 3 live performances. But so you guys want to jump into the album at this point, or you got anything else you guys want to touch on, or anything like that?
Nah. Jump straight in, bro. Kick
All
off,
right.
and
No.
you'll be ranking first, followed by the Rock Professor, and I'll just come through with 2 bullet points because you guys
All right.
have it all sussed.
I've got a few things here I want to bring up, and I've done my research on this online, and a lot of it's from knowledge as well, because I'm a massive Deep Purple fan, as you guys probably already know. Ritchie Blackmore's in my top 5 guitar players of all time, so I think he's a phenomenal guitarist, and this album just proves that in so many ways. But not only does it prove how good Ritchie Blackmore is as a guitar player, but how good each musician is in Deep Purple, and this lineup of the band, how amazing they were as a live act in comparison to their recordings. I mean, you can tell they recorded Machine Head, for example. The majority of it would have been live. You can get that essence when you listen to them playing on this live performance. So the album we're ranking today, gentlemen, is Made in Japan. We've been talking about doing this for a long time. And, we're doing this in celebration of Ritchie Blackmore's birthday last week. So happy birthday, Ritchie. And, I think it's about time we gave this one a bit of love, gentlemen. What do you think?
No problem, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So Made in Japan, Deep Purple's double live album. It catches the essence of their inaugural tour of Japan in 1972, originally hitting the shelves in December 72, followed by a US release in March 73. The album garnered both commercial success and critical acclaim. Despite Deep Purple's renowned prowess on stage, they initially hesitated to record a live album until urged by their Japanese record label, recognizing its potential for publicity. With supervision of the live production from the band, that included involvement Martin Birch, the engineer. They included him, who they'd worked with previously on other recordings. The band's enthusiasm for the album release was lukewarm. They weren't really that keen on doing a live record, despite the tour's resounding success. It drew obviously considerable media attention and fan adoration. As we know, it's classified one of Deep Purple's greatest albums, and it's a live record, so it's amazing. The band themselves, even Ian Gillan, he was obviously very critical and criticized his own recordings, his own performances live. He didn't really want to release a live record, but he was so blown away by the quality of the recording. And John Lord as well, yeah, he hails it his favorite Deep Purple record. He thought it was the band at the pinnacle of their era, the band's era. Ian Pace echoed that as well. He boldly proclaimed that it's the greatest rock and roll live recording ever recorded, passing achievements of Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. There's a good argument there. I'm going to leave that to the chat. Hopefully you guys in the chat can, or anyone watching this back later, leave some comments there, what you guys think. But, I'll leave I'll leave my boxing gloves off for that one. You guys can punch it out in the chat and in the comments. But it's definitely up there for me as one of the greatest live recordings ever. The band obviously downplayed the album's significance. Glover and Pace were the only guys that turned up for the mixing of the record. Birch revealed that Ian Gillan and have never listened to the finalized album. Find that hard to believe after all these years, but at that point in time, they didn't even get in and listen to the final mix. They weren't interested. Despite the band's reluctance, they wanted exclusive rights to all the tapes. and they intended the album solely for release in Japan only. However, obviously, it eventually released worldwide against their wishes. I think that might have been because of the success and the quality of the record. In the UK, the album hit shelves in December '72, and it was the cost of a standard LP at the time, even though it was a double LP. Peaked in the number 16 in the charts. Designed by Glover, the cover shot showcased a colourful photo of the band on both front and back covers with black and white images within the gatefold. The US release delayed to '73 in April '73 due to Warner Brothers' preference to release Who Do We Think We Are first. However, motivated by steady demand for UK imports, the album achieved immediate commercial success in the US, reaching number 6 in the charts. Warner Brothers also capitalized on the success of releasing Smoke on the Water as a single, featuring the live recording from Made in Japan alongside the studio version of Machine Head, which peaked at number 4 on the Billboard charts. So a very successful time for Deep Purple in this particular time of in their career. Additionally, a recording of Black Knight from Tokyo Performance, an encore, was absent from the album, was released as a B-side to the single of My Woman from Tokyo, or Woman from Tokyo, in Europe as a standalone single in Japan. The album's commercial triumph, especially in the US, where it coincided with chart-topping hit Smoke on the Water, solidified its status as a steady seller throughout the 70s. Over the years, it's seen various reissues and expansions, including a 3 CD set of almost tour performances, a set of most of the tour performances, in '93, and remastered edition of that, obviously, in '98 as well. A deluxe edition with further bonus material in 2014, underscoring, its enduring significance. I think, guys, it's important to remember that the band had all this. The band had all the access to all these tapes because they wanted the rights to them, and obviously with the success of Made in Japan, they thought, well, over time, as the band's back catalogue was getting remastered, they thought, well, let's just expand the. I don't know if you gentlemen have actually heard the expanded one with the 3 CDs. Have you guys heard that, Simon? And anyone in the chat? Hoping everyone has, because that's phenomenal as well. I was a bit of a cheat, and I listened to that this week as well. So, just because I just got so heavily into this record again. The album itself, in my opinion, is a massive timestamp for the band, how good they were as a band. I think it's a masterpiece. I don't want to give too much away of the rankings of the tracks at this point. It highlights each member of the band equally, I think, this lineup of Deep Purple. And I'm really interested to see what everyone in the chat has to say about this record and what it means to them. But I probably should start with you two gentlemen first and see how you guys obviously came across it and how important it is to you guys. So I'll start with you, Simon. How did you come across it? Obviously, you would have probably got it when it came out, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, it was one of the soundtrack albums of my mid-teenage years. Was Live in Japan. It was amazing, really. That every we'd go around people's houses, we would play it in each other's houses with parties and stuff. It would get played, and I went to see them in September the 16th, 1972.
Wow.
Just saying. Well, I've seen both lineups. I saw the Glenn Hughes, David Coverdale lineup a bit later, 74. But I saw this lineup doing probably Made in Japan. The Colts were fantastic. So really, Deep Purple, one of the in rock and all of that, one of the one of those albums that, as I say, had at the time, had since, and was the sound, one of those albums that was the soundtrack of my sort of early teenage years and early concert experience, an early record buying experience as well. When you're just getting into it with your mates, and deciding whether you're a rock kid or a pop kid. It's kind of those spurious things now that then seem very important. Are you into T-Rex or you're into Deep Purple? It's a very, very deep distinction between the two in 1972, Brad, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Now, not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, all about it for, 50 years or whatever it is.
Well, I'm deeply looking forward to your rankings, Simon, now that it
Oh,
is Track of Your Life. So, Andrew, can you explain or share with us your first encounter with this record, how you come across it, and what it means to you?
Sure. Just want to do a quick shout out to Quentin, who's jumped in too, brother,
yeah,
and also TV Tube Amps from Finland's jumped in to hang out with us for a little while. So
yeah.
thank you.
Good
Thank you,
morning.
Finland.
Welcome.
I'm going to pinch a little bit of what the rock professor said too. When I was a young cat, I was lucky because I was hanging out with guys in 80, 81 when I first got to high school who had dads and uncles and brothers and sisters that were listening to great bands. And I discovered this album through about 3 or 4 other mates, Brad, listening to The Song Remains the Same at the same time. So we were listening to these 2 albums. And it's interesting because at the time, I had some other friends who were metalheads, and we were metalers then, but we weren't really. But it's interesting because they were listening to Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden were really, really popular, and Def Leppard had come out with their first album. So we were doing this comparison, this chit chat that we're doing now, talking about music. What's better? What's good? What's interesting though is that no one considered back then that Led Zeppelin was heavy metal, but it was interesting back then. Deep Purple were considered a heavy metal band, which I always thought was interesting because I'd like to think maybe I was a little bit sophisticated back then, Simon, when I was a young fellow, because I always thought they were a rock and roll band, Brad, and probably still do to this day. So, look, at the end of the day, labels are interesting, aren't they? It's like a list, it's going to add to a conversation. But I've been listening to this album like you guys for a long, long time too, and one thing before we get into the rankings, I have to say, when you listen to an album or you're listening to songs, you're not sort of listening to them. They're there. It's on your playlist, Brad. But when you actually listen to it in preparation, say for a show like this, and stick them on your headphones and go, "Holy shit!" I've been listening to this for 30 years, and I had no idea that sounded so great. So, yeah, I agree with you. Up there as a live album, it's up there with the Rolling Stones, Get Your Ya-Ya's Out, and with the Allman Brothers, in my opinion, as a great example of how to record a rock and roll band in full, I won't swear, in full flight.
Especially a band with effectively 2 lead instruments plus a lead vocal, in my opinion, because you're talking about, say, comparing it with, so for me, the 73 performance of Madison Square Garden for Zeppelin is one of the pinnacles for me. So this is right up there in a different way. I have to agree with you. I don't see Deep Purple as heavy metal, but I do see them as an influence to heavy metal bands, how they would have drew inspiration from this band and expanded that and taken it in their own way, 100%. Especially Ian Pace, his driving beats and stuff like that.
I agree. I don't think that. I don't think that that any of these bands are what I would call metal bands. I don't think Led Zeppelin's a metal band either. Nowhere near it. They're a rock and roll band. Deep Purple are a rock band for sure. Even Black Sabbath. Then I saw them, but I'd still call them a rock band. I mean, I know some of metal's a kind of attitude and what you're singing about and stuff as well. So so I sort of get that as I say, it's an attitudinal thing. But I think for the most part, I don't consider I don't consider this to be way off being any kind of, it's not Metallica, is it, by a country mile? I mean, it really to me it's in a different field entirely. I don't
That's
find
right.
it at all.
That's right. I mean, look, I just don't think that they're heavy metal whatsoever. They got a little bit more depth than a heavy metal band. No knocking. I'm not knocking heavy metal bands, but they got a little bit more dimension than when I say depth, a bit more dimension, color, and that in their music and texture than straight metal. But for me, like
You
this
got it.
record, this record, I discovered it obviously just in my journey into Deep Purple. Was one of those records that I went out and bought on CD and was blown away. I was just blown away by how good they were. And I've got to be honest with you, I listened to Machine Head that much that those songs were embedded into my brain. And when listening to them play these songs from Machine Head at this particular point in time in their career, couldn't believe how close they were performing them. Obviously, the energy was there. Everything was very similar, but there was a live element which had a live edge. And listening to it again this week and how wonderfully recorded it is. It's such a good record. But it's great to hear what it means to you, gentlemen. I think we should delve into the rankings if you guys are ready.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's a monster album, and I'm going to try and leave enough room for you, gentlemen. I don't want to hog the highlight of these songs either, gentlemen. But at the same time, I've got a few things I need to say as well. So hopefully, there's enough room for you guys to elaborate. But I encourage you, even if I've said it, just repeat it. Don't worry about it, because there's only 7 songs on here, but it's packed to the rafters with 7 songs. I'll put it that way. There's a lot of them. So the first track on the record is Highway Star. And wow, I mean, straight out of the gate, straight from the get-go, what a captivating, explosive performance. I mean, it's got that captivating sort of build-up at the start of Highway Star that we know so well, and it builds up, and once the band kicks in, it's explosive. There's so much energy going on there. Ian Gillan's voice when he first comes in, he's not shaky. He's not like getting his vocal right in the first song. It's already there. He's already come out of the gates in full power, in full vocalist mode. I think he was just a natural when it came to singing this way in this particular time in his career. His vocal soars with power and emotion. Ian Pace's drumming, I mean, this drives the song and drives nearly every song in Deep Purple. His precision, the intensity, is right on this song. I mean, the title of the song, Highway Star, to explain the drumming, it sounds like a car just flying down the street. It's like a V8 engine just tuned perfectly and powering down the street. Then you've got Roger Glover on bass. He's so locked into, Ian Pace. The wonderful thing about bass players in this era is they really did play quite between the kick and the snare. But, Roger Glover's bass playing was also tending to not just be like a rhythm instrument and not just playing off the drums, but he was listening a lot to what's going on vocally. If you listen to his bass playing, he's throwing in little accents around the vocals. And I find that, not that other bass players don't do that, but he did that so well. And he's got that solid foundation in this song. He's tightly locked into Ian Pace there. And then you've got, obviously, John Lord and Ritchie Blackmore. I mean, Ritchie Blackmore's guitar work, his attitude, his shine, it's brilliant throughout this track. I don't think Ritchie Blackmore would have played the same way twice. And, he had his set ways and set things he would do in a song, but his attitude would always shine like the same way, if that makes sense. And John Lord's mesmerizing organ adds a lot of depth and richness to the sound, which takes, the Deep Purple sound is quite heavily based on John Lord, in my opinion, because other bands didn't have that keyboard. And John Lord was, you got 5 members in the band, but I've always said it, he's half the band, half the sound. The rest of
100%.
them, you know, you listen to this song in particular, Ritchie Blackmore's just floating over the top. There's even times when he's playing one note. He's on the guitar. He's not playing chords at times. He's playing one note. Like John Lord's playing the bass. He's playing the rhythm. He's playing the whole bit. It's all there. That sound is phenomenal. And no one could play a Hammond like John Lord. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No.
I have to say it. I'm going to get it out now. Don't care. Don't try and convince me. John Lord was the master. He was next level. And the format of this song, you know, while they stuck to the format, the song remains faithful to the recording, but there's room for improvisation, which they do, particularly from John, who adds his own creative sort of flourishes throughout the song. You know, during the next verse, Ian Gillan sort of ad-libs a little bit. I think there's a spontaneous touch of, you know, changing the lyrics or forgetting the lyrics and putting something in that just, but that's Ian Gillan. That's what he did. He was known for forgetting lyrics. You know, there's proof of that with Tony Iommi saying he used to have to read lyrics to Smoke on the Water when he performed with Deep Purple because he couldn't remember them. Things like that, but that's just who he was. But there's a spontaneous touch there going on from Ian Gillan. Then there's Ritchie Blackmore's guitar solo. It's a blistering display of virtuosity. Starts off, you know, completely improvised before seamlessly sort of transitioning back to the familiar melodies from the album version. There's an exotic element to Ritchie's playing that not any other guitar player. Don't try and convince me. Anyone in the chat, anyone can talk to me about Ritchie Blackmore. No one's going to convince me. Ritchie was Ritchie. No one can play like Ritchie. He had his exotic feel, and he's phenomenal. His solo in this is full of energy. He takes the song to the next level, pulls the song back, and obviously get to the, you know, the end of the song. It's evident the band's firing on all cylinders at this point in their career. You know, reaching this point in their career where they're unmatched. You know, the energy, the vitality of their performance is unrivaled, in my opinion. There's no doubt that they're at the top of their game with this. Highway Star earns a perfect score for me, like 100 out of 10. It's a testament to its time, brilliance, and enduring impact. I have to say that. 100 out of 10, gentlemen, and never, ever, ever a skip. Simon.
Yeah, yes. Well, I'll make a slightly contentious statement that if I'm going to be picky, let's be picky. I think the recorded version, the intro on the recording version, is better than this. I think that the way they build it on the recording, and they go, you know, and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and then they have that and they release the tension, and that is one of the best opening song bit to an album ever, you know, intro thing. And I think that for me, and clearly it's live, so you don't quite do it the same way, but I would say that it's still, I think the recorded, not often you say this, but that bit of the recorded verse is just is up there with anything really. As I say, that build up of the tension and then the release and the way that they come in and then they're more of them coming, you know, ding, 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 ding. I think that's absolutely brilliant on the recorded version. It's slightly more than this version, slightly more, but as you said, they don't stray too far from it, and you know, and when you're coming on live, it's a bit different, isn't it? Because you've got John Lord's kind of messing about in the beginning and stuff, and just you know, having a play before they start. I completely agree with you. I think that, you know, we'll talk about this, but you know, the axis of Lord, Blackmore, and Ian Pace is to me the axis of this live album, very much so instrumentally. You know, I mean, I think Gillan's our top form, and I think he's a fantastic singer, and he can do it all, can't he? You know, he's got one of those voices, or Denny had one of those voices that could do it all, and amazing singing on this album, but this track as well. But and you know, Ritchie Blackmore, what better than a lot of trademark whammy bar use? I mean, that kind of ferocious energy that he has, that like is unlike anybody else, really, isn't it? That's kind of, you know, comes
100%.
raging into it and gives it hell.
Yeah.
Surprised the guitar survived, to be honest. But yes, I mean, so it's absolutely 100 out of 10, but not quite. Not 101 out of 10, which is what but
Yes.
it's a fantastic opening track to a to an album, and they absolutely rock. And that interplay between Hammond and John Lord, as you say, John Lord, Hammond organ through Marshalls is nobody else did it. Nobody else has done it since. Nobody else plays like that.
No.
Nobody else. And that integration, as you say, between the guitar and the organ is that's one of the key elements of Deep Purple. And this is did it better on here than and nobody else did it. I don't think there's really the same way at all. So
No.
a unique feature. Yes, 100 out of 10 for me too. Never a skip. Mr. Walton.
Yeah, look, I have to agree with you guys. I remember when I first heard this, synthesizer music was really, really popular in the early 80s. And I remember we were listening to this and it was like, holy shit, Brad, it was, here's this organ going, and it was my first memory of this sound in a rock and roll band, long before I discovered Layla, the Layla album, and long before I discovered the Allman Brothers Band. So I think John Lord was always the benchmark for me when you're talking about this instrument in a rock and roll setting. And as you said, Brad, in your wonderful first track outlay, there's something special about what he does. Just to sort of give a bit of background to what Brad is saying, I've put a link for some friends of mine who are based here in Hamilton, a band called 848. They're good mates of mine, the Lawrence brothers, and they play a Deep Purple tribute, Brad. And it's really, really interesting because Marcel, who's the lead singer, his brother was saying, he was saying to me that his brother said to him that when he went and played with other people, after he'd been doing, a circuit doing Deep Purple songs, it was easy for him being a guitar player to float above that sound, to have that sound. So you're right. And then when he went and played in other bands, because he's a gigging musician, a little bit like, you do, where they don't have that and he's got to sort of push his music to the forefront, it's like, oh, I don't have that luxury of leaning on to those extra notes that the organ, that John Lord gave to the band. So you're right on the money there, bro. And, from a local band's perspective, sort of echoes exactly what you said. So that was a point that I wanted to make. Look, I have to agree with you. When you're a young guy, 13 or 14, hearing this track for the first time, holy shit. And I think, Simon, I never heard, I'm pretty sure this was the first version I heard. I don't think I heard the recorded version. I'm pretty sure this was it. And they never played this on the radio because there wasn't classic hits radio like this back in the 80s. The classic hits radios were playing shit from the 50s. Well, stuff from the 50s, So hearing this, Brad, it was like, as you've described, it was like, what is this? Led Zeppelin don't sound like this, but they've got this edge, they've got this, and I remember being giddy. Not often have I heard tracks or albums and opening tracks and think, oh, being giddy. And I just want to, say one thing before I flick it back to Brad. You're right about Gillan. I remember reading some of those like uncut magazines that came out, in the in the 2000s, Deep Purple specials and all that. And they were talking to Gillan, and he was critical about some of his stuff. But you got to be careful about what these guys say because they kind of want to sort of shit over the past sometimes, Brad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and when I first heard that too, that he didn't like this, I thought, are you nuts? Because this is great.
Yeah. 100%. I mean,
Yeah,
it's. I understand it's very easy for a singer to be super critical of your performance, more so than an instrumentation type musician,
yeah,
because your voice is very personal and it's a personal instrument. It's part of your body, so it's easy to be super critical of it. Even some of the most amazing singers in the world don't like listening to themselves sing. It's
yeah,
No.
yeah,
blows me away because if I could sing like them, I would be wrapped.
yeah.
But it's one of those things, you know. It's a God-given gift that Ian Gillan had back in this era. I don't think anyone sung like Ian Gillan. It's
No, no.
phenomenal.
No,
So
no one did. Ozzy Osbourne didn't. No one did. Robert Plant didn't.
uh,
You know,
no,
and I think this is why we liked it, because this was a
yeah,
guy that was singing down lower in his register. You know, he was a little bit like Jim Morrison. You know, he was singing. You know, it was just yeah,
but he
yeah.
gets up there,
Oh
and
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
we'll
yeah,
talk,
yeah, yeah,
we'll
yeah, yeah,
we'll
yeah,
talk about that in the next song, I think, because there's moments in that that's not human for me
yeah.
from a male
But
voice, but phenomenal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So for me, you know, the vocal performance, you know, certainly a standout. When I heard it when I was a young guy, and again when I heard it again recently, just to go over it, I hear the recorded version often.
Mm.
It's played
Yeah.
5 or 6 times a week, and I have to agree with Simon. I love it. Dun, dun,
Mm.
dun, dun, dun. It's a great song.
Yeah.
It's you know, but you know, what a track to open up a live album.
Yeah.
There's your money, gone. First track.
Yeah, just throw my wallet on the counter. I'll have the album. Thank you.
Yep.
Whatever else comes after that, well, it doesn't matter because the first track's worth all the money.
Huge score. It's not a Brad score. This is a huge score for me.
Oh,
What's a huge score? 8 million. 8 million
8 million
out of
to one
10.
something. Yes, six
Yeah.
million to
You can't- anyone that said that they didn't like
6 million
that,
out of 10.
I'd very much question their, integrity or
Cancelling all your social media connections with them.
right. So we come to the second track, gentlemen, on the album, and it's sorry, I just want to say it was great to really hear what that meant to you guys because we're all on the same path here, so it's good so far. Child in Time.
Yep, so far.
I love this song. I've always loved this song before I heard Made in Japan. Child in Time for me. Um, It is a very vocal track. It's got a lot of soul in the vocal, and Ian Gillan. It's for me. It's Ian Gillan's song.
You
Some
got it.
standout playing for everyone in the band, and everyone in the band is equal. I mean, you talk about each member of the band is phenomenal, but it's captivating from the sincere beginning. Draws the listeners in, and that the original did that, but this live one does it as well. It's got that slightly mysterious sort of ambience going on. Ian Gillan's vocals shine, starting with that softly, and he's got that sort of soft, subtle. What's the word I was looking for? It's like an embracing voice. He's trying to get people to listen to him, and then it escalates to otherworldly heights the song goes on, showcasing his exceptional vocal abilities and putting him in another league compared to other singers at the time. As the song progresses, the band masterfully builds the intensity. Ian Pace's drumming providing relentless drive, Roger Glover's bass anchoring the rhythm. John Lord adds that rich layer and texture of sound. I mean, Ritchie Blackmore might not even play, and it would still sound massive. And I have heard bootlegs, from Come Hell or High, whatever that sort of era of Ritchie, where he'd walk off stage and it would be guitarless and it would still sound massive. But thankfully, this is an amazing version with Ritchie
Agree
on
all
it.
of that.
The solo um, takes the song to another level as well. John Lord's organ solo is incredible. It seamlessly weaves through the progression. Um, I can't say enough great things about John Lord. I mean, you get lost listening to this song. The solos, with John Lord is like hypnotizing. He gets you pulled in, and then Ritchie Blackmore comes in, and his guitar playing stands out this is a highlight for me on the album for him. He's got that exotic, aggressive style. It's paired with raw power and that cranked Marshall amplifier. It's mesmerizing. It's a sonic experience. That's what I've put here. The band's dynamic control is evident as they navigate through the solo. You listen to what the band's playing when Richie's solo kicks in. It kicks into another gear. It's got that sort of galloping, thumping thing going on. And it's intense what's happening there. And all of a sudden it comes to that stop. It's dramatic. And then it comes back into the dun, dun, dun. It's just, wow, that's power and that's placement. And that's not just because they're well rehearsed. That's because there's magic there in the band. There's something going on there that, it's the unsaid. I'll put it that way. It's the unsaid. The band, this lineup of the band were phenomenal. There was just that magic going on between them. There's that mastery of dynamics and emotional intensity in this song. Child in Time is a masterpiece. It deserves 100 out of 10. I can't give it any more. Could probably give it a huge score. Is it
a huge score?
It's breathtaking. The dynamic range, cementing its status in Deep Purple's as one of Deep Purple's most iconic songs. But for me, the highlight of the whole song is Ian Gillan's vocal. It's just phenomenal. Those high notes that he does, screaming with body, it's not like a painful scream. It's there's a lot of soul in his voice while he's doing it. If you were to think about a song trying to portray emotion in the vocal, well, you could sound like the guy's like in pain emotionally, and he portrays it that way. So yeah, 100 out of 10, guys. Never skip, Simon.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to. I think I'll tell you is following on from what you just said about this is a fantastic lesson in dynamics, isn't it? How to build. Take it up, take it down, take it up. Different instrumental bits. With the organ particularly doing that job, but able to go from a whisper to a scream within the song. And I think that if you want to know, and we've talked, I say this a lot about 70s, 60s, late 60s, early 70s band Zeppelin are the same. That they didn't have lots of effects. They didn't have lots of things. That was pretty much straight into the amp. Therefore, you find ways of arranging a song that is, 10 minutes long, whatever it is, 12 minutes long. You've got to, you arrange it dynamically. So there's a lot of dynamics between the instruments, a lot of dynamics between the voice and the instruments, louder, quieter, softer, hard, all sorts of things. And I think that sets these songs apart, and the time that they came from. And I think it's fantastic that, and I think it gives them the feel, the organic feel that you're not just playing with sounds and stuff. It's about the way you've arranged the song and the way that it stretches out before you. I'd also say that the thing about Purple, one of the things Purple don't leave it, they have great melodies. They have songs you can sing. It's not, there's always a strong melody in it. And I think that's one of the things that attracted me to this era Deep Purple, was that thing that had the songs, had the melodies, they had, that stuck out, the hooks, that or a pop thing, but nevertheless, the hooks that that pulled you in, that made the songs memorable because because of those. I think you're right. It's Gillan's. Gillan is magnificent on this. On this track, he sings brilliantly. Takes it from whisper to a scream. or literally, he's actually singing about something, So I think that's important as well, that you can put something into it because it's a song about something. And the band are just brilliant, aren't they? They're so tight and they're so organised, and that it's 100 out of 10 for me as well. It's a fantastic version of it as a song, and they are just brilliant, and I love listening to this sort of thing. It's just it's a particular thing, and it's does particular stuff. So I love it. Andrew, over to you. Oh yes, and by the way, never a skip.
Thank you.
Probably.
Thank you, Rockabilly Chick. Great show. Love this album.
Yeah.
It's always a favourite. Thank you. And thank you for the
Slightly
comment
worrying.
you said.
Slightly worrying. She described us as three handsome chaps, which I find that slightly one for sure.
Hey.
Please do.
Hey.
Sorry,
hey,
sorry, the bearded
Gee.
wonder over here.
Yeah.
Zeus, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm always going to be in the handsome camp.
Always. Always.
Oh, having a bit of fun.
Sorry,
I'm just joking, folks. Too, by the way. Don't. We're just having fun.
No, you're not.
Look, I've described this before, guys. One of the great things I love about these English guys, and again, I remember vividly, listening to the song Remains the Same in Led Zeppelin, and besides Brad hearing these great instruments and seeing, great photos back in the day and some of the books that we saw, there wasn't a lot of film. No, there wasn't. We never had the videos of these bands, so it was just photos and albums, that you had that would inspire your thinking. And besides listening to the band and what was going on, I always appreciated the fact that they have this ability to tell a story. Isn't that great, Simon? That one of the reasons why we love music, besides the band looking cool and sounding shit hot, they're taking us somewhere. I love that. Always did. And I think that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with music in the first place, because that was the good music, Brad. That was the best music that could take you somewhere. And, Led Zeppelin did it for me. And Deep Purple are doing that, aren't they? They can do that. And this song certainly, puts you into that sort of, wow, what's going on? It's just, as the rock professor said, it's this, whisper to a scream, to pinch the word from, Kenny Wayne Shepherd's song. Yeah, I love it. I love it, Brad. And I think we've spoken about what album was this on?
In Rock, I think.
In Rock.
In Rock, yes.
Yeah.
And we've done In Rock.
Yeah, phenomenal.
And I remember we were all captivated by it. It was certainly one of the highlights, and again, this is the first version I heard. So it's interesting, isn't it, from our experiences, that especially when you hear live albums, I always thought live albums were the go-to, because that was where you're going to get the juice. That's where you're going to get the power. We certainly weren't let down by this. And I've got a comment here too. Just Gillan, wow. I don't. Again, Brad, I don't want to repeat myself, but I don't know where he was being super or hypercritical. Maybe he was just, as you said, just being, what's the word? Shy as a lead singer, talking about himself. Maybe he didn't want to say, yeah, I sounded pretty good.
You think he was trying to be humble? You think he was trying to be humble? I
maybe.
I think you could be right, but I also believe every member of this band had quite a steep ego. I'm pretty sure Dylan did too. So.
Yeah. And rightly so, because they were in the top 3 rock acts in this period of rock and roll history, bro. They were.
They're right up there as one of my favorite bands of the 70s, without a doubt.
Yeah. So that ego is a good thing and a bad thing.
Oh, you got to
Look,
have ego. You got to.
yeah. Well, yeah, don't we all? Look, I've given this a Brad score. I gave the other one a Hugh score, but I agree with you. And again, I want to just repeat what the rock professor said too. Contrast in the song, but also contrast between the two songs. Smart placement of the songs. Certainly. Just imagine listening to this when you're the rock professor when you're 18 years old for the first time.
No,
When it first
14,
came out.
15 years old.
Oh, 15.
Even better.
Yeah. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, no, thank you, gentlemen. Well, we're all on the same path. I just want to back up what you guys said about Andrew about the lyrical content. I haven't mentioned that yet, but the lyrics that these guys wrote were phenomenal. Great lyrics. Anyway,
for sure.
So I'm back on track. I'm not going to summarize, but I just need to back that up because I thought.
Thank you. Now the next one.
The next track on the album is "Smoke on the Water." Everybody knows this song. Everybody knows. If you don't know it, well, I don't know what rock you've been hiding under or where you've been. I don't know. Let's just leave it at that. But "Smoke on the Water" kicks in after a little bit of tussling and a little bit of noise, background noise. I think that's typical for most bands in that era. They all tinkled and tinkered before they started the song. Ritchie Blackmore kicks off teasing the crowd with a false start, like he gives it a little bit of a false start, you know what I mean? And I kind of like that as much as I like, I remember when I first heard it, I was like, what? Well, I just didn't understand what was going on, and I had to listen to it again. I realised after watching some live footage of Ritchie later and things like that, that's what he used to do. He used to like to, tease the crowd a little bit with his guitar and the way he'd, wave his Stratocaster around and things like that. So he's teasing the crowd with a false start before launching into that iconic riff that ignites the song. The band hits a stride immediately. And then Ian Gillan comes in delivering a stellar vocal performance again. That sounds nothing short of incredible. The song drives with that relentless kind of stomp vibe. I call it a stomp vibe, like you're stomping along, you can just picture a bunch of like tradies or, construction workers just coming in to set up something like stomping to this song, or soldiers marching sort of thing. It's phenomenal, and it's driven by Ian Pace, characterized by that 16th feel he does on the hi-hats, that 16 feel he has. Roger Glover's bass provides a real solid foundation. There's a lot of moving around on the bass in this song, which we have heard little hints of in the previous songs, but there's a lot more moving around in this song, which I love about his playing. He would play between and keep it solid, but he'd move things around where it needed. It was almost like he was filling the gaps that were there, but there's not many gaps, but he was doing it really well. It's really hard to do. It sounds easy, guys, but it's really hard to do properly. Yeah, it is really hard to do properly. Then Ritchie Blackmore and John Lauder are locked in seamlessly on guitar and organ, respectively, throughout this song. While the guitar solo deviates slightly from the familiar album version that we all know, Ritchie Blackmore's execution is nothing short of mesmerizing as he effortlessly pulls it back to familiar territory from the way it starts to the way the solo ends. And it took me by surprise the first few times listening to it, I'll be honest with you, because I was so taken by the recorded version on Machine Head, the solo on that. But again, he's Ritchie Blackmore. He wants to do whatever the hell Ritchie Blackmore wants to do, and he's not going to play the same thing twice, but he pulls it back seamlessly to that familiar sort of solo that we all know to finish the solo off. And I love that. And you know, this version of Smoke on the Water grew on me a lot. I found it hard to grow on me because I knew the Machine Head one so much, and I was expecting certain things the first time I listened to it. But it delivers once you get used to it. And John Lord adds an additional layer of flavor, a tantalizing sort of organ solo, leaving that sort of lasting impression on the song. Look, the crowning glory of this song for me on this performance is the trade-off between the guitar and the organ solos at the end. It's a masterpiece of musical interplay. With each note, the band showcases their chemistry, their virtuosity, and obviously the crowd are in awe. I mean, imagine sitting through this. I mean, I was trying to put myself into the song, listening to it in headphones. Eyes shut, as I do when I do these rankings. I'm really trying to focus on what's going on. And I was just thinking, after this version of Smoke on the Water, the first time I listened to it this week, for example, and you gentlemen know when you're ranking the tracks, you listen to them differently because you're really focused on everything. You're really focused on how the song starts, the instrumentation, the vocals, everything. And for me, I put myself into it, and I was like, this is incredible. If you had experienced this live, you would have just been mesmerized. It would have been something that it would be embedded in your soul forever. And I'm glad that I'm glad that there's this recording for us to listen to. It's timeless. For that reason, was sort of got that infectious energy, the master performance. Deep Purple is one of their biggest enduring hits. 100 out of 10. Never a skip, guys. Never a skip.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, couldn't agree. You're right. It is all about interestingly, it's about as much about the organ as the guitar, isn't it? And apparently, this is the only song they used from Osaka on the 15th of August, because the other nights Ritchie Blackmore didn't play the riff properly. Conjuring old. Yeah. This is the one that he actually played the riff properly. He does play it brilliantly, but so clearly you're going to choose one where he plays the riff, not when he plays something else.
Simon, I think he used to do it deliberately.
Typical Blackmore. Yes, absolutely. Contrary is the word I'm using, but this. Oh dear, I know what you mean, John. And I think the other thing I'd say about it is that the heaviness is the combination of Blackmore's guitar and clearly the organ, and also Roger Glover playing chords on the bass. Yes. I noticed that a lot in this. Started playing, it's like, blimey, now you've got three instruments, which makes it really kind of rich and deep and heavy in a good way. It's not just a lot, it's not a lot of distorted guitars, which is what we do now. We'd turn everything up to 12 on our Metal Zone, let fly, wouldn't we? It's amazing. The other thing I really like, the other little detail I like is towards the end of it, in about 6 minutes, there's that brilliant bit where Ian Paice is playing the hi-hat and he opens the hi-hat, so it gives you that.
Yes.
Now, it's just a little sort of dynamic detail, a little bit of color, just that really makes it for me as that sort of thing is just brilliant, and the way he does that is fantastic, and hats off to him for doing that, because that's a brilliant bit. I give it a 10 out of 10 as well. Of course, 10 out of 10 is a classic. I'm not doing a John 6 out of 10.
I'm just saying that, John. You'd be timed
well
out.
Done.
Panel here, you'd be timed out for that.
Well, I think that's proud of him for doing that. You say what you see. Well done.
There could be some truth to what you're saying there, John. There could be.
Yeah.
But I think knowing Ritchie, he used to do things to tease the crowd. So
yeah. I don't think he made the mistake, John. I think he just as I'm going to go with Brad's story. He liked to tease the crowd, and also tease and piss off some of his bandmates as well. Let's be fair. He liked to do that.
Well, that was evident deliberately used to do that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just be fair about that.
You have to, John. You have to time yourself out. We don't. We can't time you out. That's not how it works here. We have to time yourself out.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to
Andrew,
agree with you
over to you,
guys.
boss.
I had heard obviously the live version, not the live version, the studio version before this album, Brad and Simon. So and it's interesting because even back in the early days of my musical developing my love for music, it was considered this was considered a great song, Brad. You know, by my cohorts. You know, Smoke on the Water, because it was, you know, talking about, you know, obviously the fire, you know, and Montreux, and you know, and I remember a couple of guys being really sort of like cool by telling people it's actually based on a true story, and it's like, wow, you know. So, you know, that whole sort of rumble around the whole song, and that riff, Brad, as you said, it's iconic. It's up there, isn't it? It's do they still have that sign in record shops? You know, you can't play Stairway to Heaven and
Smoke on the Water.
Guitar shops, yeah.
yeah. You know, we like to make fun of those, but look, if you can play this intro, yeah, all of us can. It's probably the second
Play
or
it properly,
third
don't
riff.
you?
Yeah, I know, your second or third riff that you've ever learnt. But I have to agree with the Rock Professor. When I heard the live version, I thought, wow. And I wasn't that critical. And even now, I don't get upset when a band isn't sticking closely to the blueprint of a recorded version, because it's a live album, Brad.
Yeah.
So that first and foremost, they're catering to a crowd in front of them, you know, and so obviously they're doing something for them. And if you can put yourself, as you said, through your headphones and close your eyes, and then somehow try and do transcendental meditation and get yourself back into 1972, well, you've done well. But that's the whole goal.
DMing.
Yeah, do it legally. Do it legally, and you know, hugs, not
Legally.
drugs. Yeah, yeah. It's easy to do. You just have to sort of, you know, give it
Not
give it
rugs.
some. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I agree with what Brad said. You know, I heard that too, Simon, about how he deliberately, you know, did the riff wrong. You know, had a bit of fun with the song, and you know, that was the rebel, I suppose, that Blackmore is, Brad.
The artistic rebel. Yeah. You wouldn't get away with it now, would you? You'd be
No.
roundly put in the stocks and have things thrown at you if you know. I don't think that sort of willful kind of rebellion is not. It's not really a thing anymore. You know, that him. Yeah, people like Van Morrison. You know, I might tell you a story.
Yeah.
When I went to see Van Morrison in the early '80s when I was at university with my friend Patrick, who's from Belfast, and Patrick said to me, "Oh, we need to buy tickets for 2 nights because he might be rubbish one night." And he was. He lasted 20 minutes and buggered off.
I went to see
The next night
Bob
he was
Dylan.
brilliant.
I went to see
Yeah.
Bob Dylan in Hamilton, and he got booed. Bob Dylan got booed. And
Not in 1966.
no.
What, for
Like,
not playing the old stuff or something? Or
yeah, and just, you know, it was just bad. It was just, anyway. Yeah. We should do a show, bad concerts we've been to. But yeah. He wasn't booed because he was playing electric guitars, mate. You know, I'm not that old. He got booed because it was, you know, singing shit and singing, yeah, just a bad performance. But you know, the great thing about the riff and where the riff goes, Brad, as you said, it's backed up by John Lord and this great band. And I'm going to pinch again before I hand it back to Brad. Again, you know, if you listen carefully and delicately to what's going on, you can hear how and why this is a great live recording, because if you can hear how the hi-hats are open and it's there for you, It's you know, so you know that they put some effort into miking the sound. They yeah, you know, they put some effort into, so the production is just stellar, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. Brad score, fucking 6 out of 10.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Oh dear.
Goodness gracious me. I don't know, Andrew, if you've got any photos you want to show, but when did you want to look at doing that? After this next track, maybe? Or
Yeah, I got the pics, bro, that you fired through. There's a few there. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's just a few. So you just tell me when you're ready, brother.
maybe we'll do it after the next track. What do you think?
Sounds like a plan.
Sound like a plan, guys? All right. Well, the next song is The Mule. It's called The Mule, and it's off Fireball. The original is off Fireball, and this version of it is a perfect excuse to throw a drum solo in because of the drum patterning. Obviously, The Mule stands out. It's got that explosive energy, driven by Ian Pace. Surprise, surprise! Remarkable drumming prowess. And the band launches it into the song. The intensity builds, setting the stage for Ian Pace to deliver an unforgettable drum solo. I think over the years of listening to this record, I'm not going to lie, if I was driving along in the car, I would skip this track, mainly because I just wanted to get to the next track. The joys of having a CD player in my car at the time, I used to just go click and go to the next one. I'd listen to the intro and then the drum solo, I'd actually, I'd skip it. But times have changed, and I am all about, and a lot of it has to do with us doing this show, gentlemen, ranking tracks, listening to an album from start to finish, and we're advocates for that, pushing people not to just pick one song on Spotify of an artist. You listen to the whole album. It gives you a better experience, and this is a live experience album. It's not a recorded experience album, and I think I really enjoy listening to it this time round. It's an unforgettable drum solo. The way that Ian Pace plays is no one plays like Ian Pace. He was, unfortunately, in Ian Pace's era, there was another amazing drummer around at the time that was getting a lot of attention as well. Probably took a little bit of attention away from Ian Pace. Not a lot, but it took a little bit of attention away from Ian Pace's drumming. But I think that's a little, unfair. And over the years, obviously, people have realised the importance of Ian Pace in Deep Purple. Without Ian Pace, I don't think there would have been a Deep Purple, in my opinion, because he was phenomenal and, nothing short of amazing. His solo, if you really listen to what's going on there, it's a integral role in the album's overall performance. I think I need to put it like that. And there's some amazing musicianship there. Great singing from Ian Gillan. Not 100 out of 10 for me, gents, but definitely a 10 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. Simon.
Yes. Oh, yes. My favourite thing, a drum solo. It's fine. It's fine. It's a drum solo. I listened to it. I listened to it twice this week, but I think it was the last track on side 2, so it's just take it off. Really, I don't think it wasn't particularly a thing then. I'm not, I could get through it if I have to, but I would skip it. But normally, if I was listening to the album, I'd probably just knock off and go to the next one. And that's no detriment to his playing. It's no detriment, to his status as a, right up there, quality drummer. And get into it on the next track a bit more. But yeah, I mean, it's 6 out of 10 from me, and probably a skip, to be honest. It's that, and that's me, and that's my intolerance of the drum solo, not how brilliant Ian Pace is as a drummer. But yeah, I can't stop getting into John territory. I'm it's 6 out of 10, and not and a skip from me really, unless I'm really feeling in the mood. Andrew.
Yeah, look, I'm in the same camp with you guys. I mentioned earlier before, about using transcendental meditation techniques to try and put yourself back into the experience of what you're listening to. And believe it or not, folks, I paid to learn the transcendental technique back in 1991. I paid. Yes, I did. I got ripped off and I paid, and I got my word. And I've tried over the years, Simon, with the aid of the word, to try
The
and
word.
get into this song. Yeah, it's the special syllable that they give you that reflects back and bounces through the universe. That's supposed to, heighten you spiritually. But it doesn't work. Doesn't work on this song. I can't go back, Brad. I have to agree with you guys. I think the only good thing about this song is that some of the guitaring early on, Brad, is Hendrix influenced. I'm sure there's a bit of Hendrixy stuff going on there. The bass is really, really good in the first part of the song. The bass guitar is really good, but I don't. I'm with the rock professor. I don't generally dig drum solos either. So I've given this a 6 out of 10. In the context of the album, now it's not a skip, but I regularly skipped it.
Yeah. My ranking was based on the importance of it being on the record. I think is significant because it is highlighting Ian Pace. But I probably could rank it a bit lower, but I thought I'd give it a 10 just because I think it's bigger. Ian Pace
It's of its time, isn't it? It's of its time. It's a thing from the early 70s. Every band who did a drum solo, it's like, okay.
It's okay, Brad. John will do you a favour and he'll give it a 2 out of 10 because he's here all night.
I think he already has.
Yeah.
Look at that. The only drum solo I can listen to without skipping is Peter Criss on Kiss Alive. I don't know it, John. I may never hear it. Oh dear. Anyway, are we doing photos or are we?
Oh yeah. Oh, hold on. Yeah,
sorry. Check here. I think we're kind of halfway through.
Got my dog sniffing around. Where are we? Right. So here is the album cover that Brad mentioned. Who was responsible for the album cover, bro?
Roger Glover picked it. I think it was. Yeah.
Wow. And look, I always loved this album cover. I always thought it was cool.
Yeah. The gold really pops. The orange in the photo. It's got a really cool vibe about it. And when you think about album covers in eras, like it's a real 70s looking album cover. It really is. You know what I mean? It's a great. I love that picture on the back. It's phenomenal. Yeah.
She's
a great album,
isn't it? Yeah. Gives a real atmosphere, doesn't it? It captures the atmosphere.
And the internal, I love that design on the internal thing. I thought that was really cool.
Which is the battle flag.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I miss about Spotify, and not to diss streaming platforms. We're not here to do that. But, you miss all this stuff. You miss all the liner notes, the pictures, the artwork, the stuff that's you spend the money on for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the actual picture. You can see Ian Pace there up the back on the drums, left-handed drummer. On the right there, you got Ritchie Blackmore with his black Strat. In the middle of the stage playing the congas is Ian Gillan. He used to, in the jam sessions, start playing along. So probably just really a release for him to join in. Roger Glover on bass, just looking cool with that hat. I always love his hats. And the mighty John Lord over there on the keyboards.
Incredible bass player.
Yeah.
Incredible bass player.
Captivating bass player, But John Lord over there on the left on the Hammond, and with the handlebar moustache there on the right, that's John Lord. Incredible musician. So if you go from right to left, so there's John Lord, Roger Glover. Roger Glover's next to him wearing the cowboy hat. Ian Pace in the middle, Ritchie Blackmore, and then Ian Gillan right over there on the left was the vocalist. And I just thought that was a really cool picture. Obviously, Ritchie looks unimpressed as usual. So does Ian Gillan. That's the press things and the photos and stuff like that.
Yeah, one interesting fact I did that I found out when I jumped on not Spotify, Wikipedia earlier this afternoon. The drummer is the only guy that's played in all the albums and all Deep Purple's live gigs.
Incredible. Well,
Ian is
Ian
the only
Pace.
one, yeah.
Ian Pace is the sound of Deep Purple for me as much as John Lord.
You got it, bro.
Yeah. And that's
look at that.
Cool photo. I always love the wall of Marshalls, the 26-inch kick drum, that look. Ian Gillan up front there with the long hair and Ritchie with his sort of his mystique that he's looked there. I just thought they were the coolest looking band for that era. They were so cool. Such a cool band. Yeah.
Certainly had it, those English guys, the Stones, these guys, Free. They looked cool, bro.
Yeah. Something about, nice.
Got my black and white straight out in honour of
Richie.
All right.
Don't play anything that'll get us flagged to those, Simon.
Yeah.
You can watch it. I can't hear it though, can you?
Don't play anything that will get us flagged, will you? No, you can't. You'll get us flagged.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Really? Oh, right, okay.
I can hear those strings anyway.
Yes. Don't want to be doing that. Don't want to get. Apparently, I don't know if you looked at this, Brad, that what the equipment that Blackmore was using at the time, clearly a Strat, but apparently the Marshall thing, according to him, a Marshall thing was a bit of a front, and he had a Vox AC30 insides in a Marshall cab. Because he really liked the AC30 sound.
Wow.
Marshall couldn't quite get it, so they said, "Don't worry, we'll put the AC30 innards in a Marshall cab, so it looked like you're playing a Marshall, but actually secretly you're not."
Unreal.
For a little while though, he was doing that for a little while though, Simon. Not. For
Yeah,
a long
yeah.
time.
I think, yeah. So about yes, I think later then he did Marshall Splitter, but I think that the bit we're talking about is he was, there is some possibility that he was using a Vox innards with the mic bit cleaners, the other bits as well. But
I know he's using, what were those 200-watt Marshall heads they were using? Were they majors, Marshall majors or something?
Majors, yeah.
200 watts, and he just cranked them.
Well,
imagine how loud
Marshall. Yeah, Marshall put an extra output stage based on to make him 280 watts.
Oh, jeez.
He louder than everybody else.
I know back in the day he played with extreme volume to get that tone, and I'll talk about that. It's coming up soon anyway with his tone. I think in my opinion, he had one of the greatest Stratocaster tones of all time. I think I'm maybe that's arguable. Arguable. People can debate that or whatever, but I think his Stratocaster tone is one of the greatest of all time. I think. Especially when you hit that neck pickup and then go to the bridge pickup and it bites like an insect stinging, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyway, guys, we'll get to the next song, which, so we go from the Mule and then the next side is Strange Kind of Woman. And wow, this is a phenomenal version of this song. I just pull my notes up again. Yeah, it opens with that timeless intro from Ritchie Blackmore. seamlessly followed by Ian Pace, like he's mimicking the riff on the drums. Then Ian Gillan comes in, showcasing his incredible vocal range and power. The band drives forward. It's got that sort of energy, that irresistible thing going on that they had. It's just such an energized track. The track features like a captivating breakdown that leads into a monstrous guitar solo from Ritchie Blackmore, displaying a trademark class of dynamics and the song itself thumps along again. It's got that Deep Purple thing that they did so well with Ian Pace driving the song. There's a second guitar solo that adds further depth to the composition before transitioning into a breakdown section where Blackmore and Gillan engage in a phenomenal call and response thing. I've heard them do this numerous times on different bootlegs and different recordings and whatnot, but it's every single time, to me, it's amazing to listen to. While they're doing that, it's always underscored by Ian Pace's drumming. If you listen to this section where they're doing the call and response, the drumming is holding it down, and they're just floating over the top of it. It's phenomenal. Then there's a standout moment which occurs around the 8-minute, 10-second mark where Ian Gillan delivers one of the greatest vocal performances, holding this resonates with raw emotion and power for quite an exceptional amount of time. Strange Kind of Woman, it's a masterpiece. I can't give it anything less than 100 out of 10. It's an impeccable performance. It's got unforgettable moments throughout it, and it really, solidifies its place on this record, guys. 100 out of 10, never a skip, Simon.
Yeah, agreed. You've picked out the things that I've picked out. I mean, clearly the showpiece is the Gillan Blackmore trading links, if you like, which is amazing, and that kind of and fun and kind of I think it's makes me smile every time I hear it. Clearly it's lots of fun. But I completely agree, and I'm going to make the point. I think that the drums on this are just brilliant. They hold it down, they hold it together. Whatever that funky little beat that he's doing is just it. It's not quite straight. It's just enough, and it just keeps it swinging beautifully, and it keeps it nailed down. And I think this is more of a showcase for Ian Pace's drums than the mule myself. I did think that, thinking that just going, that kind of drumming he does, whatever the beat is, it's just fantastic. And I think that that takes the song to another level, really. Just that drumming bit, and I agree with you also, Brad. I think that the guitar solo, 150. I mean, I made a note. It's a great creamy sound. It's like whatever he's doing, it's a fantastic Strat sound. That is, it doesn't, it's taken off some of the shrillness of it, but sometimes you get a bit glacial, can't hear Strat, but takes off, makes it real fantastic, and it just sounds brilliant as well. But yeah, for me, the thing is, and let's not forget Roger Glover just holds it down. Knows, this is a showcase for his I'm just going to go, just hold it down. And I think that's, the art of the bass player. It's, when to play and when not to play. Just hold it down and just keep it steady. And so to me, as I say, this is more that drumming pattern that Pace does is more of a tribute to his skills than probably the mule is for me. 10 out of 10 for me. It's fantastic. And could I say one more thing? Right. The other thing is, what a great melody. It's a song. It's a melody first. It's not. It's not just a lot of solos and stuff. Yeah, there is a song in there. And a song you could sing. It's memorable, and I think that's really important to say that. As part of what they do. Yes, 10 out of 10 for me. Clearly, never a skip. Back on track. Andrew.
Yeah, I agree with you, Simon. I think I've got a note here. There's a heavy load driving this song forward, and that's definitely between the bass player and the drums on this track. there's a cohesion and a collectiveness there that these guys have got that's just remarkable. And I think some of these other band members just get that great luxury, don't they, Brad, of just knowing that whatever happens, it's always going to be there. That beat's always going to be there, you know. And again, you know, I've got to back up the rock professor here. I've got a note here on the drumming. It's just fantastic. Charlie Watts would be proud of this guy as as a guy that can just keep the beat, you know. And again, I have to hark back to these English drummers. They're just phenomenal, aren't they? There's a long list, Brad. You were talking earlier about John Bonham, but you know, we could compile a list of 10 British guys drumming around this period from 1970 to 1975, and just phenomenal achievement. And again, the vocal performance on this track. It's a great song, the melody that the rock professor has mentioned, but also, you know, Strange Kind of Woman. Again, you know, it's great. Sing a song about a woman. Okay. Yeah. Any kind of woman. Just give me a woman. What do you got? I got a strange kind of woman for you. Okay, all right.
That'll do.
That'll do.
Easy, Tiger. Easy.
Look, mate, I've given this a 10 out of 10 too, and I think after the last song, when you skip it, you know, if you do, and that I get it if people are going to, you know, you're rewarded with a great song. 10 out of 10. Ellen's given this 10 out of 10, so she's onto it. We've got to wait and see what.
We're going to see what John's score is. Yes.
John said.
I think John's timed himself out, hasn't he?
Oh, has he? Oh.
No.
No, he's not. He's still chatting.
Mate, 10 out of 10 and a great song. And I won't say anything more until you talk us through the next song. I'll just stop.
Well, I don't know why he's stopping, but that's fine. Let's go. So the next song is an absolute epic song off Machine Head album, Lazy. And it begins with John Lord's, I'm going to call it Space Invader-like sounds and effects, setting like an atmospheric sort of tone. As the song kicks into gear, it unleashes like a high-octane power and brilliance that captivates from the start. The main riff, while already captivating, reaches new heights. The band's improvisational prowess taking the performance to the next level. I'll put here, you know, backing up you guys, what you're saying and what we've been saying the whole way along about Ian Pace. His drumming is nothing short of unbelievable in this song. You know, he's catching every accent with precision and tightness. You know, he's right on top of this song. He's actually probably one of the highlights of this song for me, the way he plays. You really focus on what Ian's playing on this and you're just captivated. Then you got Ian Gillan, his wonderful vocal performance. He's showcasing his versatility as he does in a seamless way. He transitions to the harmonica solo, which adds another depth to the song. The instrumental sections that feature, you know, are equally impressive. You know, the performances from John Lord, Ritchie Blackmore on guitar, you know, playing standout, like highlighting solos throughout this song. Together they channel the essence of Deep Purple, that sound. And they're playing the blues, guys. This is Deep Purple playing the blues, in my opinion. Ritchie's guitar tone, it earns the praise as one of the greatest Strat tones ever recorded. I mean, his Strat tone I fell in love with from all the albums, pretty much from the word go the minute he started using a Strat. The one that always resonates with me is No, No, No from Fireball. I just love his tone on that. But I hear that all through his career on a Strat. It's the standout moments when he hits the neck pickup, when he goes to the bridge pickup. There's something about his guitar tone, especially when he hits that bridge pickup, that no other Strat player really catches the way he does. And I don't know if it's the way he attacks the guitar, but it's got this aggressive thing. I've always found the bridge pickup on a Strat to be a bit gnarly and a bit harsh, but he just has this way he plays it, and it sounds massive. It's big. It's got tone. It's amazing, I've got to say. And then, you got to hand it to Roger Glover. His bass line in this song is wonderful, dynamic. He's got a lot of, versatile sort of stuff going on here. He's moving that bass line all around. Overall, Lazy is a true masterpiece on Machine Head anyway. But this live performance elevates it to new heights. Again, can't give it anything less than 100 out of 10 for its exceptional musicianship. And there's some really unforgettable moments in this version of it. Simon, never a skip for me, gentlemen. Never.
No, interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. I think basically this is Deep Purple do a blues jam, isn't it? It's the one song on the album that is very clearly blues based, and the others not at all. But this definitely blues based, and they use that as a. I mean, the vocals don't come in till nearly 6 minutes in, so I'm saying that that's a long intro, isn't it? 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that the lyrics are kind of more perfunctory than maybe in other things, because so far back in the song that really this is about the instrumentals and playing together, playing around it, and there's a lot of Ritchie Blackmore on this, doing his typical classical sort of quotations near the end. And as you say, up and down, and that interesting, Gillan playing the harp just to give it a sort of nuance of a different dynamic. So, Jonas Habak says it's a riff based on Stepping Out. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, it's as I say, it's just an extended kind of blues thing for me. But everybody plays brilliantly. Blackmore's fantastic in it, and Gillan's fine. The organ bits, they cover it up. I gave this 8 out of 10, but it's never a skip. It's fine. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, love it. Andrew.
Yeah, I used to always skip this when I was a young guy because I wasn't really sort of looking for blues kind of stuff early on. I wanted to hear the rock stuff, Brad. And wasn't until I was in my later teens and early 20s when I appreciated blues and heard this and thought, and it kind of blew me away when I sort of rediscovered it, Brad and Simon, because I never sort of thought for a long time that Deep Purple were a blues band, unlike everything else that was, that we were listening to. Clearly there's an argument to say Led Zeppelin were a blues band, and the Stones as an example, and g'day John, good to see you. So I was kind of sort of freaked out, Brad, when I heard this, because I was like, okay, so these guys do play the blues. These guys can jam. Okay, so because there was a period there where guys here in this country were sort of getting this view that Ritchie Blackmore was the precursor to the the neoclassical sort of sound, and he wasn't like every other guitar player. And we kind of loved that because there was this discussion about the guy that was completely different to what everyone else was having about other guitar players. So, his reputation was interesting, wasn't it? I'm sure that you would have heard that too, Brad. And it was like, okay, what's going on? And then you go and listen to the guy. Oh, okay, so he's a Strat player. Okay. And I have to agree with you. What he was doing with the Strat tone is completely different to what everyone else was doing, because all the other guys that we were basically listening to were playing Gibsons, weren't they? Humbuckers, mostly, to be fair. But this guy here was doing something completely unusual with the Strat. And I have to back you up, Brad. The bridge pickup on a Strat's, it's a wild animal. you know, she's a, you know, and any Strat, even a cheap Strat, you put that bridge pickup on, it's older, but you put it to the neck, oh boy, it's, you know, even a cheap shitty Strat's going to sound good, you know. So I agree with you. I don't know what he was doing, but I love the collective musicianship that these guys were doing on this track. I'd never skip it now. I would never skip it. And being a blues man now, I appreciate what these guys were doing, you know. And it's interesting that Jonas is saying that it's based on a stepping out. He's right. I never thought of that. But he's right. So it's not unusual that these guys wouldn't be influenced by these guys. I'm glad they left this for the last track, Brad, on the album. I think the track selection on this album's perfect.
Well, there's one more track.
Sorry. The second, yeah. So
the last track on side 3.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm jumping ahead of myself. But I agree with you, Brad. I think it's a phenomenal track. That collective musicianship from the band is just fantastic. I've given this a 10 out of 10, and forgive me for all those years where I skipped it.
Yeah.
We forgive you.
Yeah.
Bloody jumping ahead of myself. That's always my problem. I'm just
I think, you know, you put the horse before the cart too early all the time, Andrew, you know.
I'll tell you why that is, Andrew, because if you go and listen to the original version on Spotify, it doesn't have Space Trucking on it.
No, it doesn't.
It stopped after Lazy, which is a bit I've got it on CD, so I play it in the car, but I did notice that. I was playing it on my iPad, and I thought, well, where's Space Trucking then? I wait a minute, it doesn't seem to have it on there. I don't know why.
It's
it's left it off.
It's always a good reason to explain or back up the claim. You should always have a hard copy.
Yeah, LP or a CD, but Apple Music has it. Apple Music has the. So I don't know what Spotify did.
Look, streaming platforms. Streaming platforms, they're not perfect. Let's be honest, but it's good to have them, I guess. But so, guys, we've come to the very last track of the album, and it takes up a whole side 4 on the second LP, and it's called Space Trucking, and it's a tour de force. You know, Deep Purple's, you know, live performance here. Song kicks off with that energetic sort of intro. There's that. It's a journey, this version of it as well. It's a journey anyway, but this version of it really is a journey. You know, Ian Gillan's vocals soar again with lots of power and intensity, perfectly complemented by Ritchie Blackmore's guitar riff and John Lord's electrifying keyboard work. I mean, that riff, that this guitar and keyboards playing it together, it's just big. It sounds massive. As the verses thump along, it's got that thing going. You know, it's amazing, that Deep Purple thing. The band builds momentum, creating a relentless groove. You know, Ian Pace's drumming drives the rhythm again. Roger Glover's bass line is solid. It's the foundation of the song, in my opinion.
Yep.
And you know, it's got the extended instrumental sections. Where each member of the band has the opportunity to showcase her virtuosity. Blackmore's scorching guitar solos, Lord's intricate, you know, keyboard flourishes every moment. You know, there's excitement and intensity going on in this song. I've listened to it that many times this week. You know, it's one of the songs that when I'm listening to it, by this point in time, I'm wanting to go grab my guitar or something. Like I want to go play guitar or want to do, you know, it inspires me is what I'm saying. This record inspires musicians to want to go and play. This live rendition of Space Trucking, you know, captures the essence of Deep Purple. It's electrifying. The stage performance is It's a live record, guys. It's not a recorded record like Machine Head. Machine Head's got its own thing. Fireball's got its own thing. In Rock, it's got its own thing. This is a live performance album, and it's a highlight album, really. It's not the song order of a live performance that they would have done. It's just a highlight album. And again, remember, the band weren't too keen on doing a live record at this point in their career. They weren't, and they thought, okay, if it's just for the Japan release, no problem, put it out there. But this really captures the dynamic and presence of the band. It's a true highlight on the album. It's a testament to the band's status of one of the greatest live acts in rock and roll history. For that reason, I'm going to give it 10 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. I think this whole record, there's not a skip track on it if you're listening to it for a live performance record. It's important to look at it that way. We rank a lot of recorded records, and you look at a drum solo on say Led Zeppelin 2, for example, maybe Dick. It's got its place on the album, but if it was too long, you'd probably skip it. But because it's not long, you listen to it. But in a live performance, the drum solo is what it is. The drummer's going to play the solo out until he's ready to come back into the song. And for that reason, the whole album is a 10 out of 10 as well, in my opinion. But 10 out of 10 for Space Truckin', guys. Never a skip. Simon.
Agreed. I think it's interesting, Brad, that although it's a live album, it's not, I've found on YouTube there's a Deep Purple live at the Colston Hall, 16th of September 1972, which is the one I would have gone to. And Highway Star is the beginning track, which is what you'd expect. Smoke on the Water, Child in Time, Strange Kind of Woman, and Lazy are the first 5 songs on it. So, and clearly not in the same order as they do them on here. But so you're right, they've picked out the performances and put it together in a different way than they have it. And I think Space Truckin' is a worthy closer, a whole of side 4. And again, it's that intertwining between Blackmore and John Lord on the Hammond organ that it's a great fun song. Space Truckin' is and it's got a great song, but for the most part, it is those two playing between them, isn't it? One plays and the other plays. And those amazing kind of spacey organ sounds that John Lord gets out of his organ. That you could tell there's a lot of improvisation and just playing with what sounds can I get out of a Hammond organ. Sounds that I've not heard anybody else getting, but is the answer to that. And then you've got Ritchie Blackmore using the volume knob on his guitar, isn't it? Make very cello-like sound that he gets out of it. It's amazing. The dynamics, over 20 minutes are what keeps this going. It's up and down. There's quiet bits, spooky bits, atmospheric bits, loud bits, quiet bits. And they put it all together. It holds the interest, and is amazing, really, as a song, and that all that improvised, that middle section, 15-minute middle section, is amazing, and keeps me interested and keeps me focused on it throughout it all. And they're all starring it, but particularly Blackmore and Lord are the 2 stars of it, back and forthing. And but again, that the rhythm section do what they're supposed to do. They just keep it.
Yeah.
They keep it bedded in, keep it based nicely. And they don't do nothing too flash going on. It's just keeping it going. In a really cool way. So, hats off to them for knowing what their place is and doing what they need to do. 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. And one of those classic early 70s rock songs where dynamics and sound are the key things to it, and divide those things up. Anyway, Andrew.
Yeah, hugely influential song, wasn't it? Influenced a lot of the American bands, to have these long sort of songs, Brad and Simon, that they weren't kind of doing over in the UK, in the States. But some of these British bands were doing, influenced Pink Floyd, to have to have long songs as well, as I understand on some of my research. And Simon, influential song with some of the early punk rock bands. They sort of said that this was a song that they were listening to. And I think the reason why they were sort of listening to this track is because of that fast, energizing sound that Ellen has made here in the chat as well. So, hugely influential band in 1972, Brad, and having the courage, to sort of take this. Were Europeans listening to long songs, Simon, and on the continent from bands?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
okay.
that they're very, by this stage, long songs with solo stuff are very much part of the canon, of live bands stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
And did they close their sets, their gigs with this song, Brad and Simon? Do you know?
Well, I think for the most part, it was either an encore or they closed with it. I'm pretty sure they did.
Okay, I didn't do that research, but look, I agree with you. I think John Lord, always for me, John Lord is the star on this, and you can always imagine him, maybe having a beer as well, while he was playing this song, or having a cigarette or something. It's definitely his. I have to agree with you though, Brad. That the original was, 5 minutes on Machine Head, which is like really cool. Space Trucking. It's just like, what a cool name, And again, what a great song. It's fantastic. I remember when we were, when we were young, listening to this, it was great when you had a song that was a whole side of an album. It was great. You knew, so you would set yourself up, because this was going to be an event. You knew it. And I look at it now. I probably haven't listened to this track. I think I may have skipped it a few times, or because of the length of it. But as you said, Brad, one of the great things about doing this show is that we go back and kind of rediscover, these bands or these albums, that we haven't listened to for a while. I'm not a fan of drum solos normally, but I think you've nailed it. When, in the context of a song like Moby Dick or whatever, you can kind of, it's suiting a purpose. And, when drum solos just go on for no reason, like the Rock Professor, has good reason to be critical of, it can be sort of laborious sometimes. But when I was listening to it, I just, where did the time go, Brad? So, I've given this a 10 out of 10, and I just think that it's just fantastic the way that they've just programmed the songs. It's remarkable.
I've just checked. They finished their performance the 15th, 16th, and 17th with Space Trucking. Then they do an encore.
Okay. All right. So this is pretty much the set list.
Yeah, I've got the set list from 15th, 16th, and 17th of 1972 Festival Hall, Osaka, Japan. So it's Highway Star, Smoke on the Water, Child in Time, The Mule, Strange Kind of Woman, Lazy, Space Trucking. Then there was an encore, Black Knight and Lucille. That was on the 16th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, John saying Black Knight was the. Okay, so this is pretty much. Okay, this is pretty much the the set. Yeah, fantastic.
Pretty close, but obviously the album is a highlight album. You know what I mean? Like it's a song highlight from that sort of period. But yeah, they pretty much, by the looks of it, on the 17th, they finished with Speed King, Black Knight, then Speed King.
Yeah,
that's about, yeah. But anyway, look, what I'm saying is that the song before the encore was Space Trucking. So
Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. But yeah, in the context of an album, what an event, bro. What an event.
yeah,
Yeah.
3
amazing.
albums, 3 records.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to go look at the expanded one and go listen to those as well. They're great.
Yeah, well, I
Fantastic.
cheated.
Yeah.
Yeah, a great record, isn't it? It's probably, it showcases them brilliantly, doesn't it? I mean, that's the key thing. They didn't really overthink. Yeah, classic. Don't overthink it. Don't They only spent, apparently they spent $3,000 on it, on getting it together
Really?
and getting it. Yeah, apparently, yeah, hard. It's about equivalent to about £42,000 in 2021. But yeah,
That's bugger.
$3,000
That's bugger
total
all.
recording. Yeah. See, so they didn't really didn't overthink it. It just originally only for Japanese release. So, but I as I say, it's probably the first album I had from Deep Purple, and it kind of really just showcased. Took all their best songs and put them all in one place. It was always an amazing record to listen to. And
I agree with
you
you.
know, and as I say, that real showcase thing. If you want to know what Deep Purple are like, you just go and listen to Made in Japan. That's what Deep Purple are. Of that,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
Yep. Yeah, I
great.
agree. I'm not no argument. Just like if you want to know if you want to know what Neil Young is, go and listen to Live Rust. No, I'm sorry, Rust never. Yeah, Live Rust.
Live Rust. Yeah. Agreed.
But yeah. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, bro, for not only picking the album. The Rock Professor's got the album for us to talk about next week, so he will let us know what that is. But thank you for coming to us with this great intro that you gave us at the start. Thank you for the intro.
No worries.
And one knocked off the list, Rock Professor. One that's been on the list for 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
boy,
Had to be done.
only 74,000 to go.
Yeah. No, it had to be done, guys. We had to do it. Celebrating Ritchie Blackmore's birthday as well. And
Yep.
yeah, thanks for letting me pick it, guys, because I know it's on everyone's list. I know it's on yours, Andrew, and I know it's on yours, Simon. So I managed to get in before you guys dived at it.
Fine.
Yeah, and I was talking to Carl about this album too last week. We caught up. We often catch up, and he said to me too. He said, Andrew, you got to remember one thing, that this band in '72, and I mentioned it in our intro. This goes back to Brad in '72. This band was hot property in '72. You had the Stones touring the '72 US tour, and you had Deep Purple, and they were hot.
They were hot, and I mean they were in the peak. They were at the, they were right at the peak of their career at this point. Yeah.
I love Ritchie Blackmore though. I love you know why? Because he's a strange dude, man. I love him. I love you know.
I've listened to him recently talking about things on his Instagram. I saw him on an Instagram live chatting. He's a very funny man. He's got a lot of humor. He's very dry, but I'm assuming back in these days he would have been very eccentric, and he was right into, like everyone else at that time, what was going on at the time, the decadence of this or that. Like he was, but what a phenomenal and ferocious guitar player. And the standout for me with him in this era of guitar players was he was very exotic with his phrasing and what he was playing, as opposed to other guitarists. Look at Clapton in the 70s. He was playing a Strat. He sounded like Eric Clapton still, but Ritchie had some ferocious stuff going on. He brought that cream element that Clapton left behind when he went solo in the 70s. He had that ferocious playing of Clapton's in his style, but he also had a little bit more of an exotic feel as well. Because I know Clapton was a big influence to him, and one of the reasons why he played a Strat was because of Clapton. So,
Yeah,
but he
yeah,
loved Cream. He loved Cream. He still does. He loved
yeah,
Clapton's playing in Cream, and I think he was, in early Deep Purple, you'll see footage of Ritchie playing a 3-5-5 as well. You know what I mean? He loved
Yeah, that's true.
Clapton. He loved his play, and you can hear the phrasing there, especially in Lazy and things like that. You can
yeah.
hear Clapton there, but there's a little bit more of an exotic nature in his phrasing, and I love that.
Yeah,
And
certainly an interesting guy. Go and check out the videos that he was doing, folks, during lockdown. He was regularly doing live streams during lockdown, and I used to watch them regularly. He used to put up two, and he was there with his big pint of beer, and he's sitting there talking, and he's reminiscing and telling all these stories. Brad's right. He's talking about Cream and Clapton, and go and check those videos out. They're on his channel. They're hilarious.
During my time as a guitarist up and coming and learning trying to learn a lot of Ritchie's stuff, I found him one of the most difficult guitar players to mimic or try and play like. And for me anyway, I'm not saying every guitarist would have this problem, but I found him difficult to get his parts 100%, and it would take a lot of effort and sitting there over and over and over just to get some of those licks right, because of the way he would play, his timing, his phrasing, the things he was doing was different to other players, and it still is to this day.
Awesome.
Yeah,
well, thank you, Brad, for picking the album, bro. It's always great to knock off one that we've been stewing on for a long, long time. We're going to ask you, folks, if you're here at the 2 hours, 12-minute mark, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. We appreciate that. And if you want to become a channel member as well, please do that. And check out our friends on our community page. The Rock Professor's going to be here with us next week, leading us on the album choice. And Rock Professor, do you want to do a shout out to the folks?
I will, yeah. Yes, absolutely. So Jonas Halberg, thank you, Jonas. Ellen, of course. Thanks, Ellen. John ZD351, cool stuff as ever. Arvin, thanks, Arvin, for dropping by. John Deshane, good to see you, John. Thanks for dropping by. John, what do we have? Going further up, lots of John. She's great. Rockabilly Chick as well. Thanks for dropping in, Rockabilly Chick. Hope you enjoyed it. Good to see Ryan Hall. Thanks, Ryan.
Cheers, brother.
By. Yeah, very cool. Quentin, of course. Mighty Quentin James. Gret Zeppelin as well. He was around earlier on. Gret Zeppelin. Nice. Good to see you, Gret. And Nelson Rodriguez as well. Left a comment at the top. Hope I got everybody. Have a great week, everyone. And we'll see you next week for something that I've got yet to choose.
Subscribe to Brad at Brad Cook Music on Instagram, and obviously make sure you're subscribed here if you want to find out the notification of what the album is, so that you can prepare for homework.
Yes.
That's it, eh? Are we out of here?
Peace.
Take it away, boss.
We're out of
here. See you guys.
Yes.
Now it's time for Brad's Tech and Tone Tips.
Do you remember that studio, bro? Do you remember that studio?
I
miss
that
studio.
The old days.
We're live too, guys, so be careful.
Yes. I know, I saw the red. I looked straight to the left.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, he's doing it. He knows again.
All right. Bye-bye.
Stop that now.